Hello and welcome to another pen video from me, Penultimate Dave. So I have here another Diamine Inks comparison video, and this is Diamine Inks comparison number 4. So let's go and swab up some inks. The first ink is Diamine Jade Green. So we'll do an ink swatch here. Now this is a very light green, almost neon colour. It does actually get quite faded, but I find that this is very similar to Diamine Yellow in respect that it's a very good mixer ink. So you could mix this with, say, Diamine Yellow or Diamine Blaze Orange, and you could actually make your own colours out of this if you wanted to. So this is Diamine, and it's Jade Green. But this really is a very light green ink. You will probably need a broader nib with this ink. The next ink is Diamine Meadow. So we'll do an ink swatch. Now this is a little bit more of a meadowy green colour. And this is a green that I do like. I haven't actually, to memory, used this a lot lately. But it was a green ink that I had used a lot in the past. So this is Diamine Meadow. But it's a very sort of meadowy, grassy coloured ink. The next ink is in actually one of the older Diamine bottles that I have here, because it is actually an older ink, and this is Diamine and it's Aqua Blue. So we'll do an ink swatch. Now this is a very lovely turquoisey colour ink. We'll do a second pass. So you can see there the wetness of the ink. This is Diamine and it's Aqua Blue. But this is a really lovely blue ink, and it's an ink that I have used quite a lot of. The next ink is in one of these sort of triangular bottles, and this is because it's a Diamine celebrating 150 years, and this is the Terracotta. So we'll do an ink swatch, and this is a really nice terracotta colour. And we'll do a slight more saturation there on a second pass. So this is Diamine and it's Terracotta. But that, I think, is actually quite a nice brown ink. The next ink is again another older Diamine bottle that I have here, and this is Diamine and it's Scarlet. So we'll do an ink swatch. Now this is a really lovely red, and again, like, this is one of the inks again in my collection that I just don't use enough of. Do a second pass there. We'll just bring this down a little bit more. There you go, round that off a bit. So this is Diamine Scarlet. But that is a beautiful red, sort of pinkish red ink, I would say. The next ink is another older Diamine bottle, and this is Diamine Oxblood. So we'll do an ink swatch. And I can honestly see why this is called Oxblood, because it does look like blood from an ox or from a cow. Like, it really does look quite dark a red. So this is Diamine Oxblood. If you like a dark sort of red ink, I was going to say crimsony, but it's actually more darker than that. It's really more of a, I guess, a dark plasma red. Then this might be the red to go for. The next ink is Diamine Imperial Purple. Now we'll do an ink swatch here. Now this is a purple that I added to my collection recently. I wanted to give it a try. It's been a Diamine purple ink that I have avoided for a very long time, mostly because I happened to get early on Diamine Majestic purple, and that is a purple that I really do love. Now, I don't know if you can see this here, but I am already seeing sheen on that cotton wool bud. And let me show you the bottle rim. You can see here the gold sheen around that rim. So this is Diamine, and it's Imperial Purple. But that is an interesting purple, and I'll compare it to the next ink and see which one you like the best. The next ink is my all-time favourite purple ink, and this is Diamine Majestic Purple. So we'll do an ink swatch, and I just love this purple a little bit more. Strangely, a lot of people actually go for the Imperial Purple, and people have told me in the past that I should try Imperial Purple out, but I have really preferred all this time Diamine Majestic Purple. And when I say all this time, for about the last 4 years, I have gone through, I believe, 5 bottles of this ink, and that's 80 milliliter bottles. That's how much I've used this ink. So this is Diamine Majestic Purple. So let's take a look at these inks in a little bit more detail. So we have Diamine Jade Green, which, as you can see, is a very neon highlighter green. And this is one of the inks that I tend to use as a mixer ink if I wanted to create maybe a darker green or a yellowy green, then I would use this. Now you can see the difference between the wet and the dry writing. There is a little bit of shading going on here, and you can see it here just in that writing sample. There isn't any sheening going on with the ink. The next ink is Diamine Meadow, and you can see that this has a huge amount of shading going on there. You can also see quite a difference between a wet and a dry writing nib. You might be able to see in the writing example there's quite a bit of shading going on. This doesn't sheen, this ink. We have Diamine Aqua Blue, which is a beautiful turquoisey ink. Now you can see there's quite a lot of shading going on here, and you can see the difference between a wet and a dry nib. And I do find that the writing example there, it shows a little bit of shading, but not a huge amount. The next ink is Diamine Terracotta, and you can see a huge amount of shading going on in around these pulled areas. You can see the difference between a wet and a dry writing nib, and you can also see some shading going on in the writing example there. Now, you don't see any shading, or sheening I should say, on the Aqua Blue, and likewise on the Terracotta there either. The next ink is Diamine Scarlet, which is a very nice sort of pinkish, sort of scarlety red. You don't see a huge amount of difference between the wet and the dry. There's some shading going on in the pulled areas. but you don't really see it on the writing example. You don't see any sheening on that ink either. Then we have Diamine Oxblood, and this is probably the reason why I don't like this ink, is that it is a very dark red in a lot of my pens. It can be a little bit lighter in some other pens, but as you see from the writing example here, it's almost like a black to me. It's really, really dark. You do get some shading though in the wet areas. You don't get any sheening though. The next ink is Diamine Imperial Purple, and this is a new ink that I've added to my collection. Now, you do see a difference between the wet and the dry areas. There is a little bit of shading going on there as well, but if I can get it on camera there, you do get some sheening. So there's a gold circle there, and also around the top, you see around the edges there's some gold sheen. So this is actually quite a nice purple ink, but I find it a little bit more on the darker side, which is kind of strange because I do like dark purples. And then the final ink is Diamine Majestic Purple, which is really my go-to purple. And this I really feel is more of a purple. It has a huge amount of shading, and that's why I really do like this ink. You can see a huge difference between a wet and a dry nib. You can see the shading in some of the writing example there. You don't get any sheening though. It's almost trying to sheen. There are a few little specks around the edges that are trying to sheen, but it just isn't able to. So that's my Diamine inks comparison video number 4. If you like any of these Diamine inks, then do let me know in the comments below. Likewise, if there are any other Diamine inks that you have as favourites, do let me know in the comments below. So that's my Diamine inks comparison number 4 video. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next pen video. Bye bye.